skin puppet, soul stealing technique, covering ears while stealing bells, changing the world upside down. I learned that the Su family has been seeking partners with terminal illnesses to win their favor and then kill them for their souls when they are on the verge of death. Zhao Banxian was so angry that he trembled and scolded. "You are simply a scum! Even if it's a terminal illness, it shouldn't be played with like this." I pressed the tattoo needle against his neck and said, "Back then I gave the Su family this cursed tattoo, but it was meant to be used for righteous purposes. Now I'm taking it back. Any objections?" Su Yu cried and laughed and said, "Mr. Cheng, there's something else I want to tell you. The girl whose tattoo is on my body is my girlfriend, Xiao Zhao. Xiao Xue has leukemia. I originally wanted to deceive her into loving me, but I ended up falling into my own trap. But that period of time was the happiest in my life. Later, I told her everything, and kind-hearted Xiao Xue, knowing that her life is short, surprisingly agreed to my request to become my tattoo. So secretly, I made her swallow sleeping pills, killing her and taking her soul. Now she is here, accompanying me at all times. Since that's the case, I won't accept the favor from you anymore. Let Xiao Xue's spirit continue to protect you. But you must give me the original manuscript of the favor you owe. This thing cannot be passed on to your next generation." Later on, Zituyu took out a wrinkled piece of human skin and handed it to me, saying that our lineage ends here with me. It's for the best, as the era of traditional opera has already declined, and we don't need to rely on this skill to make a living. I nodded and placed the human skin into the toolbox. At this moment, Suyu anxiously asked me about the soul separation syndrome I mentioned earlier, whether I can start tattooing the exquisite Patala Palace on his body. I said, "One thing at a time. This Patala Palace is the original design. Let him sit first." I picked up the ink bottle and was about to start tattooing when I heard a few cries for help. "Help! He's not Suyu! I am! He tattooed me on his belly!" It is surprising that the face mask is seeking help. Seeing this scene, I couldn't help but feel goosebumps all over my body. Suyu noticed that I hadn't been needling for a long time and asked me what was wrong. But I was dumbfounded. The face mask unexpectedly returned to its original state. So I quickly said it was nothing and started the tattooing. This reminded me of something my grandfather seemed to have mentioned before. He said he was obsessed with watching plays because life is like a drama. Actors covering their ears while stealing the bell, changing the world another day. There is a kind of soul-snatching technique in this world. First, peel off your own skin and make it into a doll, then ask a master to help insert your soul into someone else's body, and squeeze the other person's soul into the doll. This poisonous technique will harm your own karma and shorten your life by at least 10 years. And the person who survived using the soul-snatching technique, taking over someone else's body, the fusion of souls will only last for 7 or 8 years at most. Could it be that Su Qing covered his own skin with someone else's? It is said that it was made into a shadow puppet to sell for money to his wife, but it was actually his own human skin puppet, deceiving his grandfather. He tattooed his own soul into his wife's body. Isn't this soul-snatching technique? A clever trick indeed. No wonder grandfather later laughed madly when watching the play. He must have discovered that the pregnant woman he brought out was Su Qing herself. Thinking of this, I forced myself to calm down and see if I could get some information. Immediately, I cleared my throat and asked, "Can you tell me what happened later? What happened to Su Qing's wife?" Su Yu turned his head and smirked. Well, later, Su Qing's wife returned to her family with Sui Shui Shui and showed off her amazing singing skills. She became the backbone of the troupe, and her wrist strength was astonishing. She quickly climbed to the top of the family and expanded their influence. Later, Sui Shui Shui gave birth to a child and completely controlled her own family with her amazing wrist skills. She secretly fought against her family members, using extremely ruthless methods, killing and driving out those who opposed her. The final flag was raised. The Bai family changed their surname to Su. If the Bai family grows larger, their prosperity will be destroyed by their own women, and Shui will be ruined by herself. Since that day, there has been no more Bai family. However, just 7 years after Shui returned home, she died at a young age. After listening to the whole story, I fell silent and thought to myself, it's indeed soul-capturing technique. After capturing souls, the body can only live for 7 years. But in just those few years, Su Yan was able to revive the Su family's lineage. It's truly a terrifying method. So the person in front of me is not Su Yu at all. Thinking of this, I tentatively asked, "May I ask your surname?" He glanced at me, stood up and put on his clothes, and replied, "My surname is Bai." "Xiao Shui, please guide me." Upon hearing this name, I finally understood everything. So I turned and said, "You are the branch of the Bai family that escaped. Su Yu wanted to deceive, kill, and capture souls with his tattoo. But you turned the tables and killed him to capture his soul. You asked me to tattoo a delicate pagoda to suppress Su Yu's spirit. That's right, since that's the case, give me the human skin puppet that seals Su Yu's soul. We gave her a funeral. Don't torture her anymore. Let the grudge between your two families end here." Bai Shui cried and laughed a few times and agreed. Then I got Su Yu's paper doll and was ready to burn it to send him off. Unexpectedly, Su Lei Yu appeared in the mirror at this time and kept bowing to me and Zhao Banxian, thanking us. This was voluntary for me, so don't make things difficult for Xiaoxue. Actually, my grandfather left some powerful methods to prevent our own people from seeking revenge, but I didn't use them. If I killed Xiaoxue, our family lineage would truly be extinguished. Xiaoxue overheard this conversation from outside. At this time, his feelings were very complicated. Su Yu continued on, saying, "By the way, Xiaoxue, from now on, using my body, you can only live for 6 or 7 years. Is there no other way?" "No, listen to me, there isn't." Su Yu blamed himself and said, "It's my fault that I caused all this. It was a tragedy from the beginning. It's good for this inherited resentment to end with me. At least he can live carefree for another 6 or 7 years. Brother Qing, please burn me. I want to be reincarnated." This time, I didn't say much and just put his figurine made of human skin into the fire. Farewell, may your dust return to dust, and may the person return to the soil. This long-standing feud of 100 years finally comes to an end.